don't, because social media puts this pressure that you have to have always content that it's at the top of your game. You're not always going to be at the top of your game. And sometimes when you are at the top of your game, you're not going to get the recognition you deserve.
Welcome to the Flowing Fruit Bowl, a platform dedicated to art and the creative process. In this episode, I had the chance to talk to the amazing Cristina Casoliva, aka Berry Bliss. Cristina is a makeup artist from Spain who creates a range of eclectic makeup looks that are inspired by sources such as films, colours, and space. It was really interesting to talk to a makeup artist and get an interesting insight into this new emerging art form. I had a great talk with Cristina, and I really hope you enjoy this interview. Okay, the best place to start is tell us a little bit about yourself. Just introduce, yourself and your work.
Yeah, my name is Cristina. I started makeup seriously about a year ago, maybe 2. Yeah, about 2 now. But it has felt more serious this last year as far as improvement and all of that. And yeah, I do it as a hobby, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, but it's only 2 years. That's incredible. I think that's incredible.
Technically, I've loved it since I was like 5.
So did you study it or did you teach yourself?
Oh no, I taught myself completely.
And what was the process of teaching yourself like? At what point were you like, actually, I really want to get serious into this, and like, kind of, how did you decide that that's definitely something you wanted to be, to try out?
See, I don't really know, because when I was really, really young, I was really into it. I have like bright blue eyeshadow, big blush, red lipstick, like from the 80s, but like 5 in the year 2000. But then when I was a teenager, I was like the whole, I'm not like other girls kind of thing. So I didn't wear makeup, but I did like it. My mom also only allowed me to use like mascara, the clear one, and just a tiny bit of eyeliner in the waterline. And when I was like, I think 18, friends got me the Urban Decay Naked palette for my birthday. And then I started to do more neutral looks, I guess. And I started to go, oh, I like dark lipsticks. Oh, I like this, I like that. And a couple of years ago, from a UK brand, actually, I got colorful eyeshadows. So I started doing looks. And out of impulse, I decided to create an Instagram account for it. That's how it started. That's it.
And your Instagram handle is Berry Bliss. And
yeah.
Where did it come from?
Oh, that's embarrassing. So I really love to do quizzes on the internet about stuff, anything. And I did one about your unicorn name.
Okay.
And it came out Bliss. And I went, oh, that's such a cool word. And I did that like 5 years ago. And it somehow stuck with me. And I like berries in general. So yeah, I thought it looked cool. Visually, I think, and concept-wise, yeah.
Yeah, because I assumed it was to do with color because your work is very colorful. So I thought
that. Oh God.
So I assumed it was because of that, and I think that's part of the really interesting thing about the makeup community, particularly online, is that everybody always has kind of like aliases or kind of like a screen name, and I think that makes it kind of quite mysterious.
It's real cool.
I think because then it kind of draws you into like, who is this person, and is the person posting the work the same person as the person who is creating the work? It's like it becomes like a kind of personality kind of
totally
consideration. And actually, like, because obviously you use yourself in your own work, and obviously you use mostly yourself and your makeup looks, like, how do you find that process of using yourself? Have you gotten used to it the more you've done it, or is it still just as as not awkward, but still is it like a challenge?
Definitely, especially at the beginning, using my whole face. I was a little bit conscious about it, always been. Even now, I think I have been doing more looks recently with my whole face, as like a project, I think. I don't know. But I still get conscious about it because since I usually post more just one eye looks, I feel like my whole face doesn't do as well in the like ratio kind of thing,
Okay.
which sometimes gets in my head a little bit. I'm like, oh, wow. But I like it anyway. I decided I like it anyway. And if I want to do, whole face, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, because I saw your recent birthday look, which was like the really cool kind of
Yeah.
glittery, yeah, which was really, really nice. And it was nice to also see you as well.
Hmm.
Because going back to the whole kind of slightly mysterious nature is a lot of makeup artists do the whole, you just see the eye and, you might see the lips maybe, but you
Yeah.
don't really see the person. And is it
Hmm.
important for you to be more personable online and kind of show yourself as well as just the looks?
Yeah, I think it is. Especially if you want to create a platform. I don't have that in mind yet, but it is important to connect with people. And one of those things is to show your face.
It's kind of
It,
inevitable, really.
yeah, it kind of helps, I guess.
But it's interesting you do it as a hobby on the side. So how long does it take?
It depends. Every look is different. There have been looks that took 5 minutes to make, you know. Um, then usually the taking pictures part takes between 10 to 30 minutes, usually, depending on the lighting. If I have to wait for the sun to come out, and I'm like, well, let's go wait a little bit. But then the editing process, it's super short for me because I'm not really familiar with editing tools. So I use a couple of apps and just correct the saturation and lighting that the phone camera takes away, usually, to make it look like as I saw it. So then there's looks that take more time to make. So that, I know the longest time I've been spending on a look. Probably, yeah, the one, I don't know if you've seen it, the one where I covered my whole face in silver glitter. Have you
No, I
seen
haven't,
that one?
but I'm gonna look. I'm gonna throw back Instagram. I'm gonna go back
Yeah,
to Instagram later on today and just look at every single look and be like, "This is cool."
I wore a costume, a princess costume, and I hold like a full photo shoot moment by myself. And
Absolutely.
yeah, well, I was inspired by Pat McGrath
Uh,
in one of her fashion runway looks. So yeah, that took a while because taking that off, it's quite some time.
I can only imagine because like that's also the thing that it could become quite messy or become quite chaotic because just some of the looks you
Yeah,
see are quite like
yeah,
abstract
yeah.
and yeah, it becomes like a whole process in itself, just the application
Mm.
and removal. Um,
Yeah, you see, I don't think it's as messy and complicated as they might seem, some of them especially, because for glitter, I use both loose, pressed, and glitter gel.
uh,
Yeah, the messiest one is the loose one, especially the smaller the glitter, the messier it is. It's insane.
absolutely, I can imagine.
Yeah, when I do full face of glitter, it's glitter gel because it's easier to take off. At least the one I have, it's easy. You can take it off with soap and water.
Okay.
I do that a few times. Then in my hairline, I think I still have glitter in my hair, but it gets and you have to be more precise. But it's fine. You live with it. You
I
have
mean,
to
it's part of the
live with
process,
it.
isn't it?
Yeah, my house is with glitter permanently.
So, what is the biggest challenge for you of being a makeup artist and doing makeup?
Mm, technique wise or
Just generally, you can like there's more. They can have
generally?
more than one, but just technically, just generally.
Well, since I never really went to a makeup school, I do want to in the future because I want to learn the theory of it more likely. I still struggle to somehow make some looks on my hooded eyes. because I start doing them in the wrong way, and then I open mine and I'm like, oh, everything's hidden now. You can see it. So you have to have that in mind when you take pictures. You have to close your eye and all that stuff. I do struggle with false eyelashes. They're so hard. I don't know if it's my eye or something wrong, because my it's quite fat. The whole eyelid situation, it's quite fatty, and I have not blonde eyelashes, but the roots and the ends are blonde, so it's hard to get the whole black thing. Like you can still see my skin between my eyelashes, so it's a mess. It's hard. I don't like glue and all that stuff. No, yeah.
That's actually quite interesting though, because like you don't think about these things when you look at the final look. You just see the look and
Yeah,
you're like, okay, this is cool, and then you're like, okay, this is cool. You don't actually see kind of the process behind it. And do you actually ever show the process behind it?
I am starting to. Do you know, I again on impulse made an TikTok account, because why not?
I
It's
mean,
actually fun, the editing process there.
oh,
It's
okay, I'm gonna
easy.
check that out actually.
Yeah, it's easy. Um, at least if you want simple editing, I can do complicated stuff. I'm not that good at technology yet. um, I'm starting to do more videos. I do some on stories, on Instagram stories, and then save them as highlights. Um, so I'm starting to do it. I started in January.
That's good though. You have to start somewhere. And
Yeah,
would you ever do like an Instagram live of you doing a makeup look?
I have been thinking about it, but then I'm like, who would show up?
I'm about to say I'd say that. I'd watch that
Yeah,
because
but then I
I'm always
don't know,
curious.
because some of my friends in, well, real life, I would call it, follow me and they would watch it, and I'm like, what language do I speak? Because you know
That's a good
how
question.
you know how they say when you meet someone and you meet them in a certain language, you can switch back.
Yes, that's true.
You know. So yeah, I would like to. There's this platform for streaming that's called Newness. That's quite interesting. So I would consider that in the future. Just yeah, hop on, do something.
Yeah, because that'd be really cool. I think that would be really interesting to see that, because I think for me personally, like makeup is not something I'm particularly kind of, I don't know anything about it. I just see it and I'm like, this is fascinating. And it'd be really good to kind of understand the process of it. Because I think it's not just, okay, yeah, we'll put this color on, or yeah, we'll put that color on. You have to think about color theory. You have to think about, the contour of the face. You have to think about,
Yeah.
you know, what's going to work well and what's going to photograph well as well. There's a lot of thought that goes behind it. It's not just, oh, these colors are great together, let's put them together. Um,
Yeah. Well, I
I'm
did.
gonna say actually,
No, but I was gonna say, for some people they put a lot of thought into something, in the look and the colors and all that. I learned about color theory very superficially at university. But the complementary colors and a couple more things, but that's it. I didn't like actually learn it. And I'm not that great. So a lot of the times I will just sit there and grab maybe some products that I want to use, or maybe I'm thinking of a color and just start doing with no plan.
that's great though. That's great because you're not putting any pressure on yourself to create
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean, I do have on the notes app on my phone ideas and concepts and sometimes color. And I tick them when I'm done with them, but I still put them in the list just in case I wanna revisit them.
That's a great idea, and I think the fact that you keep notes and you've got ideas and concepts tells me that you're,
Mm.
even though you do it as a hobby, you're still quite serious about it. Clearly, because otherwise you wouldn't be
Yeah,
thinking about it. Otherwise, you'll just be like, yeah, let's just try this, and yeah, okay, who cares, and let's just try that, and who cares. But like, no, you're like actually thinking about it. So that's quite
yeah.
interesting actually to consider. And have you actually? And how often do you look at the list?
It depends of how inspired I am. If I'm during a creative block kind of moment, or I want to do makeup, but I have no idea what to do, I'm not inspired by colors, I put everything out and I don't reach for anything. I go to the notes. That's what they're useful.
So
Yeah.
what kind of ideas and thoughts and concepts on your mind at the minute?
Ideas. Oh, I did have an idea yesterday. Oh, I don't remember. I got these some skincare products from this website, and they sent as a gift, because I spent quite a lot. These oh, how do you say agenda? Like a planner, when you write like the days and the months.
Planner.
Yeah.
Your planner, yes.
Yeah, that stuff. And it came with stickers. And there's this pink and black stickers that say #deadline and #urgente and #appointment. And there's also in pink, and there's also stars and hearts that you can look at them.
Ooh, okay.
You have the sneak peek.
Yeah.
And this too. So I thought about using them, especially the deadline one, like using a eyeshadow to accentuate the dark circles.
Yeah.
And just slap them on my face.
Yeah, that's a great idea. No, that's a great idea though. That's a great idea. Yeah. And it's really, really interesting that you'd be inspired from something so random that you didn't think about, that you weren't even like trying to get inspiration from. And I think that's kind of the great thing about art, is that you can be inspired from, like, the most random of places. You can watch like a runway show and be inspired, or
definitely.
You can watch a film or something. Yeah. Or
I actually have they're called stills, right? I have some saved that I found on Twitter from various movies, because I thought the colors of the image really sparked me back then when I saw them. So I do keep them just in case.
I think, yeah, keeping inspiration all the time, with you all the time, I think is a good starting point for just new ideas and new projects and new things to work on.
Yeah.
So what kind of skills do you think one needs to have to be a good makeup artist?
A good makeup artist. Well, I do feel like makeup artist, it's very similar to being a painter. In the sense that, some are very good at drawing skills, so they do very meticulous work. Some rely more on color. That's what I think I would fall in. I go more by color than by the line. I think there isn't like a pack with you need to have these skills in particular, because you don't need to do a perfect cut crease to be a makeup artist. You don't need to do explosive color to be a good makeup artist. I think as long as you are passionate about your work, that's what matters. Because then you're going to keep doing it. If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to do it well. With works like makeup or, art in general, I think it's very important. It has to be vocational in a sense.
I think that's actually a really, really good answer. I think that's a great answer. And it's so true as well, though, when you think about it. Like, you have to stay motivated to do stuff, because can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how do you stay motivated, and how do you kind of set yourself limits? Because obviously you're the one with all the power and control, yet you're the one who also has to set yourself that limit.
Well, I don't set limits for myself, because if I do set myself limits, I'm limiting my creativity and my potential. If I said, I'm never gonna do free-handed eyeliner shapes or free-handed lash things and all of that, I don't think I would be where I am right now in terms of confidence with those products in particular. How do I stay motivated? I don't know. And I'm someone who I have like obsessions, right? For like certain amount of time. And makeup is one that is so far, it's stretching quite mm, a long time. Like I don't see it as one of those obsessions that I had, I don't know, 5 years ago, that I lasted 2 years and then it went away. I still love it. I still like it, but I'm not obsessed with it. This is more, it feels more real in a way. Yes, I do have moments where I'm not motivated. Everyone has those. You just have to embrace them as well. Take your time. If you're not feeling like you don't want to do makeup, don't do it. Don't, because social media puts this pressure that you have to have always content that it's at the top of your game. You're not always going to be at the top of your game. And sometimes when you are at the top of your game, you're not going to get the recognition you deserve. So you have to be mindful of that so it doesn't affect you.
That's actually a very, very fair point. And it's actually not something that I've really thought about much. And I think that's a very good point, because you're right. Like, you have to remember, and we'll probably get into a bit later about social media. It's definitely something I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that we're kind of giving ourselves up to the algorithm.
Yeah.
It's not even like everybody who follows you will see what you're posting. So,
Exactly.
you could spend, like a good 24 hours, probably not 24 hours. You can spend like a good like 6 hours on a look, and it'd be like, your favorite look you've ever created. And it could be super cool and super interesting. It could be like 3-dimensional or something like that. Who knows? And then you post it, and then like maybe 10%, 20%, 50% of your followers will see it. And
Yeah.
yes, if you have a large following, that's cool. That's still a substantial amount of people. But that's not the point. The point is that everyone who might be interested in that won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So the last couple of years, I'd probably say the last maybe like 3 to 5 years, there's been a
Mm-hmm.
huge rise in the
Yeah.
makeup community, and it's all become quite a bit
Saturated?
yes, that is part of what I was going to say. But yeah, so there's been like a huge rise in just kind of the transition of makeup from something that people do to as an art form, and to kind of the boundaries and creativity of makeup. Like, what are your thoughts on the current rise of the makeup industry, and of course the oversaturation of it?
Well, there's a good side and a bad side, obviously. Because if there's too much saturation of images, um, the faster you will get over an image once you have perceived it, the faster you will go to the next one,
Absolutely.
which is happening right now in social media. Um, and the more content and more fast content you will want, the consumer will want, I feel like. And that, for some artists, that's fine. They put out content super fast. For some, they require more time, and those, I think, most of the time get affected unless they have a huge platform and their um, followers are like up to waiting that long and stick around. I don't know how I feel about it. It's not sitting the best with me how it's going, but I feel like we're at a tipping point where it's about to change. I don't know in which direction, but it feels like something is like trembling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's no, that's a really interesting way to put it, because I would agree with you. I think, because at first it was like, oh, this is interesting, and then it became, okay, now a lot of people are getting on this trend. It becomes like trendy.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, and I was gonna say people don't realize that these like beauty gurus and makeup influencers, the long time they have had to build what they have now.
Absolutely.
And people expect to build what they did in 5, 8, 10 years into.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a problem.
That's a really good point. And also, it's also because for some people that does happen. Like, for the rare, 1 or 2% that does happen. People start makeup, and like 2 or 3 years later, they're at the top. Like, it does happen, but it's very, very rare.
Exactly.
And I think the problem is that people forget that that's rare. People just think, oh, if I do that, people are going to like it, people are going to see it, people are going to want it. Because, it has become quite saturated, as far as, I can personally tell from just looking at it. So how do you separate yourself from kind of the cascade, I guess, of
Yeah.
the makeup artist? Like, how do you make sure, or how do you try and make sure that you stand out?
You know what? I don't think you specifically separate yourself. I think the audience does, because they're the ones that identify you. There's a lot of people who work with glitter, yet I'm always identified with working with glitter. When I have people that I follow that work a lot with glitter and do other things like I do other things, but they're not identified as much with it, you know? Or, yeah, I think it's that. I never thought about it, but I don't think you have, I mean, you do have a say because it's your content that you're putting out. And I think if you want to, stick to a certain kind of branding, a more dark makeup, more smoky thing, graphic liner, you can do that totally. Me, because my interest change easily and rapidly, I don't really think I do it myself. I don't really do a whole branding thing. I mean, yeah, I like sunlight and glitter. I have it in my bio, but that might change in 5 years. I don't think it will, but no, because I do like the whole lighting situation in pictures.
So that's actually really interesting. So you have kind of a insignia, or a kind of, how can I explain that better? A kind of a certain way of doing things, I guess is probably the easiest way
Yeah.
to say it. So because that's the interesting thing about makeup, is because your looks can be so different.
Mhm.
It could be so different, and it's like one day you could do just like a really cool smoky eye, the next day you can do like a graffiti inspired piece, and the next day you can just do just a really simple eyeliner look.
Yeah.
I think how do you try, or do you try and make it sure that so your work is consistent? Like, is consistency important to you?
Um, for me, it's not, because I think that's just, my style in a way. I don't really, my feed, if you look at it, it's for most of the time, it's all over the place. Like there's no like color, you know.
Yeah,
Some people do like color
color
themes
blocks.
and
Yeah, they do color blocks
yeah,
where they have like, say, three. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I have noticed recently I have reached more blue colors in my work, but like that's coincidental. Lately I've been inspired by blue because I got a blue eyeshadow palette.
So what kind of colors are you, what kind of colors do you like working with, or is there any specific kind of certain colors you like
Hmm.
working with?
Yeah, I really like complementary colors. There's something about them. Not just in makeup. I also like them in art. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm at university. I'm studying a degree in art history. So I like art in general.
Oh,
Wow, surprise, surprise.
actually, funny enough, that was actually a question I was meant to ask you at the start that I completely forgot to ask you. Um, so, yeah. Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. Yeah, so I obviously like art in general and colors, and I have noticed that art movements that I like are color based instead of line based. Like Baroque or Impressionism, Post Impressionism, some other avant garde movements, and all of that. So I especially like working with blue and orange. From time it kind of changes though, because for a while I was obsessed with pink and golds. Then for a time I really like purple. It kind of changes. And sometimes I want to go to my personal favorite color, which is black. But I'm kind of scared of working with it because it's so intense. And but at the same time with makeup, it's not, especially eyeshadows.
But when I think of black, I think you could do like a really interesting kind of celestial look, or something kind of very space themed, and
Yeah,
you
you told
know,
me that once actually,
yeah. So
and I did once. I Romance Galaxy kind of look. I
absolutely.
that was the title, I think.
Absolutely. So this is the thing, because I don't know really much about makeup. I just see it. Obviously, people do really great makeup like you. I see people do it really cool, and then I'm like, oh, what about this idea? And I feel like I feel bad sometimes, because like I'll just be like,
Mm.
yeah, why don't you try this? And it's like, it's not really my place to necessarily say to you, oh, why don't you try this? But like, do you appreciate feedback like that?
I do appreciate it because sometimes people say things or mention concepts that maybe you haven't thought about or you haven't given attention to, you know? And I think it's nice. I did write down yours in my notes and later on did it. So yeah, it came up great as I'm looking at it now. So yeah. Yeah, it's always welcome. I'm not always going to make them a priority
Of
if I
course,
don't
yes.
feel like doing them, of course. But I'm gonna write it down and someday they will come out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like generating ideas from other sources, isn't it, really? Um,
Mm.
and one thing I
Yeah,
noticed
yeah.
that you do a lot of, and actually a lot of makeup artists I do that I don't really follow that many makeup artists actually. I only follow like a handful, and I can probably list them off the top of my head just because I only follow that many. But one thing I noticed about the makeup community is that everyone's very positive, as far as I've seen, and very kind of
Yeah.
supportive of each other, and they repost each other's work a lot on their stories. Like I know you do that a lot. You post a lot of other makeup artists' looks on
Yeah,
your
I
own
do that a
stories.
lot because I think it really makes a difference. At least for me, I'm really appreciative when people do it because, you know, people have different followers.
Of course.
Sometimes you share followers with someone, but, I have gotten new followers that I noticed follow someone that shared the look of mine, and started liking my looks frequently and stuff. So, and for me, I have discovered artists thanks to this. And I know I really like it doing it. And when people do it, I don't, I mean, I certainly have found more non-positive people, but I wouldn't call them negative. It's just they're more self-centered and self-interested. So they look more for themselves. So they're like, oh, I don't give you, as much as I would give me,
Yeah, that makes sense.
that kind of thing. But they have only been like one or two. So
Yeah, and I think that's
it's
interesting.
really good.
Like the ego of the artist, I think is a good consideration. It's like because you're very much building this whole kind of identity for yourself by yourself.
Yes. Mhm.
But do you do it for yourself? Like, would you say you create your looks for yourself or for other people?
In my case, yes, because I know that if I post something that is for other people and not for me, I will give up makeup, you know?
And how do you judge like the line that artists have where their audience becomes part of the work in terms of ideas and thoughts and inspiration, in terms of like,
Oh, I think that's really fun. And I mentioned, in that post, but usually when someone gives me an idea of like a caption or they say, oh, you should try this, I usually put it in the caption, oh, someone said this and I created this. Because for me, that's important. Even if just someone who, has a private not makeup account, just account,
yeah,
and you know, they not like in this whole industry thing. I don't still think I'm like in the industry. I'm just like floating around. But yeah, they matter as well. They had an idea. It should be valued.
yeah, I completely agree with that. I respect that. I highly respect that because I think a lot of
Yeah.
the times, I think the whole thing with social media, and we'll get into that definitely in a minute. I know I keep saying that, but we'll get into that in a minute. It's because I think being an artist, it's not what I was going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Being an artist is like a give and take. It's like
Mhm.
you put out the work, and you get the feedback, and you kind of understand. That people. I think valuing everybody is a great consideration of yours, and I very highly respect that. But my next question for you then actually leads on quite well there from what you just said about the industry. So do you feel like you're part of a bigger community?
I mean, I do feel like I'm part of the community, but I don't feel like I'm part of the industry because I don't work on it, you know? Like if I was like an actual makeup artist who does makeup on people or, creative something from some brand or all that stuff, then I would consider myself like regularly, not once, but, more consistently. I would consider myself also part of said industry, but I feel like I'm more part of the community.
But do you think that by being part of a community, you are also part of, or at least enhancing or contributing to the industry?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm a consumer of said industry, and consumers are part of the industry in a different way.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah.
That's a good. No, that's a good consideration. That's not something I've thought about. And actually, now I think about it, I'm going to ask the next person I interview about the consumerism of art. I'm going to ask that to somebody now. So going back to the idea of community, So are there any particular makeup artists that you have got your eye on, or who I think are pretty exciting at this moment in time?
Oh yeah. Hold on, let me check. Oh, Sophia Claire. She's so does makeup. Her handle in Instagram. She's incredible. She does a lot of color-based work as well, but also more refined stuff. I know she really inspires me in a lot of ways. Um, there's also Ashley Meredith as well. He's someone who I started following right when I started the account, and she's always inspired me. I just noticed they're all people who work with color a lot.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. There's this girl named, I don't know how to pronounce her surname. She's called Catalina. She's from Romania. And she's also as well someone who I connected with at the beginning. And she's blown up quite a lot since. And I'm very happy because she's super talented. She does a lot of eyeliner stuff, but like more graphic in terms of figures and stuff. I know she did once sometimes she did like memes on her face.
Oh
That
wow.
was really fun. But now she's working a lot with like big smoky colorful eyes, which I found really interesting. She also does use face paint a lot in her makeup, which because of her now I'm interested in investing in some face paints to
Absolutely.
use. Yeah. There's more. There's a lot more,
About to say, because
but
one thing
I
that I've
can't remember
I've
now.
noticed is that there's a big shift in terms of kind of sculptural designs and kind of 3D elements to makeup.
Yeah,
Like one account I follow, I don't know if you follow them, it's called Gothwalk.
I think I've seen them, but I don't know if I follow them.
And her makeup is really incredible. It's like a really cool, incredible look. But then she cuts out
Oh
words and
yeah, I've
letters from
seen them a lot.
magazines and sticks them. Like so interesting.
Yeah,
It's so interesting because it becomes like a piece of art. It becomes something really interesting. That's not just okay. This is
totally.
a cool look. And also
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
stop and read it, and then you kind of have to figure out like what the colors have got to do with the words and where the words came from and stuff.
They're so detailed as well. Like
Absolutely,
it's a kind of work that you could stare at for a very long period of time, and every time
absolutely.
you would see something new. I've always seen their work around, but I've never come across to like follow them. I don't know why. I'm going following them now. Thank you.
No, that's fine. I can send you. I've got quite a few suggestions if you want some. I can send you some.
Yeah, I can send you
At
them
later.
later too, because
Absolutely.
I forget a lot about, and I
That's
feel
fine.
bad later.
No, that's
Oh, a
no.
friend of mine that I made friends with. She doesn't post as much now. Um, her name is Patricia, but she goes by Encyclopedia. She does this really cool thing where she creates a look based off something and then explains you information about
Okay.
said something, which is really cool. The there's did one about volcanic activity, or she did one for Spirited Away, and she gives you like little bits of information, like an encyclopedia, but with an eye look added to it. It's a great concept.
That's a really good concept. And actually I think
Yeah,
that's a really great bridge of,
exactly.
makeup and art and
Mm,
information.
yeah, and very unique too. I've never seen it
Yeah, that's so
before.
interesting actually. That makes me think of like
Yeah,
imagine if you did that with something like films. If you took like a film and the strip the color, because
yeah,
obviously film color palettes are a thing in terms of like you see it online of a film still and the color palette next to it.
yeah,
Like it'd be really cool to do something like that. Like you have a film still and then a color palette, and then you use that color palette for a look, and then you have a reference to the film. Like something like that would be cool. Or just
yeah,
making connections between things. Whether
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a piece of art or a film or like a sunset or I don't know, just anything. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, actually, the one I mentioned earlier, Sophia, she does a lot of art recreation on her
Oh,
face, especially from Impressionism and Van Gogh and all this stuff. But she also does this thing when it's look like it's oil painting in
oh
her
wow.
face, which is really, really cool. She's done quite a lot of those, and they're all super beautiful, in my opinion.
And what is your opinion on people who pick up trends? like, do you think that it's harmful or helpful to the makeup industry when people are like, oh, neon, like say like neon eyeliner is a trend. So people will jump on that trend.
Well, it's natural for that to happen. It's been happening forever, honestly, if you think about it. The history of makeup, because it's not very well documented, because it's something volatile. People wore on their faces. Those people are now dead.
That's
As an
funny.
art form, you have, yes, some in prehistory, some from the Victorian era, some from Greek myth, Greek history, and all of that. So there's always going to be trends, and there's always going to be people following them. But I think it's more the wise decision, I think, for one to make. I mean, if you follow a trend, do it because you like it, like wholeheartedly. Like if someone, I don't know, with when the whole thing with like matte everything, I did jump on it, but I stepped away quickly because I have dry skin, I have dry lips, I have dry everything. So it didn't work for me. You can try it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. I'm really into the whole unconventional and not following the social norms when it comes to beauty. So
Like, absolutely, I think so.
yeah.
I think that's a great mentality to have, because I think the problem is that everyone's going to look the same otherwise.
Yeah. But at the same
And I
time,
think
they're not, because everyone has a different face and a different technique.
that's true.
You
So does being original, or the kind of concept of originality, matter to you?
No, because I think very little things are original nowadays. Everything has been done. Everything. You can put your own spin on it, but the whole more, you can be 100% original. And it kind of icks me when people say, oh, I'm original, I created this. No, you didn't. I'm sorry, but no, you didn't. No, it is important to credit people and artists when you have taken inspiration from them. That is crucial. But it's also very weird when people say, oh, I created, because this happened to me once, a Pikachu look. The other day, you copied mine. And I'm like, first of all, there's a Pikachu movie that came out. Okay. I'm going to get inspired by it. And it's fine if two people have the same idea.
Does that happen often?
To me, no. But every once in a while, I see on Twitter or on Instagram, oh, this person stole this person's look, or they didn't credit them, especially the credit one, not so much the first. I see the credit one a lot, and I do agree with it. If you did take inspiration, you should credit them. But how truthful are people being when saying, oh, no, I didn't see the look. Oh, no, I didn't,
Yeah, because there's no way to keep track of what they did and what they didn't see.
Exactly.
Unless they obviously liked them and followed it, and then you're like, oh, okay, there's a bit of a trail there. But even that, you can't. Even that, it's not like you're going to go through, the potential thousands of likes just to find that one person's name.
Yeah, exactly. I did have an experience where I created this look that to this day is the look that I'm most proud of in terms of concept. And a few days later, someone that I did follow, but they didn't follow me, but they followed someone really big that shared my look, did a look with a similar concept. It really sit with me the wrong way. At the time, I was very, very small. Well, I'm still small, but I'm not. I was smaller, in terms of followers and stuff. So I didn't have the guts to say, hey, I did a similar look to it. It would be nice if you could credit me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to approach it. So yeah, I didn't do anything about it in the end, but yeah.
But that's a good point though, because that's like an awkward situation. Because
yeah, absolutely. It's very violent, especially if you're the small one.
but not even that. It's like, even though it's just a hobby and it's not necessarily a profession, as in like your reputation, but it's still your reputation at the end of the day. And it's still about, you know, you don't want to come across as rude or like demanding, but at the end of the day, you want to also just be like, you know, at the end of the day, listen, you know, you can at least credit me, or at the very least, you know, put some kind of mention of me, even if you don't credit me,
Yeah,
if you don't tag me, or if you don't, you know, at me, at least put my name in there somewhere,
exactly.
or at least, you know, at least have some kind of some reference. You know,
Exactly.
I think it's that's kind of sad to hear in a way, because you don't want to put so much time and effort into something and then not like how people take the inspiration, I think, but it's just kind of, you're doing it because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing it for the positivity and the fun and kind of the community aspect, and it's like it kind of dampens the experience, I guess, of
Yeah. Especially with a look like this that is so conceptual, you
yeah,
know? All I did was take a picture of me with my eye with no makeup on and edit it and put a sensor thing on my pupil and iris. It
yeah,
didn't take time, but I
yeah,
was really proud, still am, of the idea behind it.
yeah.
And ideas are just as powerful as anything else, really.
And how do you know when an idea is good enough to become an actual concept?
You don't know. You don't know. Because this look, for instance, it did got reposted on a big makeup account. It's called Ugly Makeup Revolution. It's really
Oh,
cool.
yeah, I know.
But other than that, it's not my most liked look. It's not even like half my most liked look. You know, it's not, it doesn't have the most reach, the most comments, doesn't, you know, it's not one of my best algorithm wise, but it's still
And
my
like,
favorite. So
so what are your opinion on accounts such as that particular account that will take makeup artist looks and then repost them without your consent?
see, if they tag you and credit you, I don't see a problem. The problem for me comes when someone posts your image and doesn't tag you in the image or doesn't mention you in the caption, you know, or pass it as their own, which is the worst thing someone could
Absolutely,
do.
of course.
But I don't mind, honestly. I kind of like it. You know, it kind of feels um someone out there is appreciating your work and is sharing it.
Yeah, because it's actually something I've been thinking about lately with Instagram stories, particularly because, as you're probably well aware of, because you actually look at my account, um, like obviously I share, and so does everybody on Instagram. Like
Mm-hmm.
I share other artists' work, and I obviously tag them, and I, you know, I just reshare them. But I lately I've been thinking about the idea of resharing, and like, isn't it like it's helpful in one way, but in another way, is it not a bit like art theft because you're just taking somebody else's work, reposting it? I might just cut this bit out because it probably makes no sense.
No,
Reposting
no.
it, like reposting it, and then from that gain potentially more followers and more likes.
Well, obviously, those pages that do have more followers than you, they're gonna have more likes in the picture they repost because not everyone is going to follow you. I have noticed that I have been followed when certain accounts repost me. Again, you know, more some people comment like some of my pictures, but they don't follow, or some people do follow. But I don't think, I don't know. I think I stand by it. Like the whole, if you because most of the time what they will do, they will tag you in the picture if it's a post and mention your username in the caption. So people can easily, like, either if they still look at the tag or they read the caption, they can see your account. So they can decide if they want to visit that account or not. I usually do that when a picture interests me. In stories, I have seen people who tag the account. I personally do it just in case they want to share to their own stories, or you know, just know that someone shared it. But some people don't, and you know, I don't know how, where do I stand on that, to be honest.
Maybe what I said was wrong. Maybe it's not art theft. I think what I kind of mean is that, does that add to the kind of like short attention span of people? Yeah,
Oh,
I think, and actually that's quite a good segue into kind of the whole social media aspect, and we've touched upon it anyway, so now's probably a good time to insert it into the conversation.
yay.
Um,
We've reached
but
the point.
but like, so what are your thoughts on social media, and is it helpful to you and your practice?
um it is sometimes hurtful. You know, I haven't received, I think, any hate comments. I'm not big enough, I think. And I don't do content that it's, because some people put like goopy things over the eye and gloss, and that freaks people out for some reason. I mean, I get it. It's eye. You don't want to poke things around it. But, because you're hiding in a way behind a screen, a lot of people are more brave than they would be in real life. So, and because I think makeup as well is a lot of times not taken as seriously, as an art form. Um, so people feel like they have more of a right to give I wouldn't call it an opinion because it's sometimes disrespectful. So when it's disrespectful, I don't consider it an opinion. So you have that part. But from the other side, I've made friends through social media, through Instagram with makeup, through Twitter, through fandom stuff. And they are actual friends. I mean, sometimes, like real friends, you talk to them more for some time, then you don't talk as much, then you talk again. And I think that's great. You have to be careful, obviously, when you're young, and because you can be taken advantage of. But it's beautiful. You can connect with people you would have never came across with. I have friends from Malaysia, from Pakistan, from Australia, from other countries in Europe. I don't want to name all of them because holy shit. From South America, from North America. It's insane.
But that's the beauty of the internet, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that it brings people together.
Exactly. A lot of time we focus on the bad of the internet. And we're like, yeah, you have to be wary of certain things on the internet. But you have to appreciate it as well, the good that it brings.
And I think that's also the great thing is that because you've got friends in different places, you can see how the cultures affect like the product, the end product.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. That gives you like a bit more insight into other people and other places.
Yeah, exactly.
That's quite nice. So actually going off something you just mentioned about makeup and art form. So like, do you believe that makeup is an art form?
Thank you. I do think that. And it's, as someone who does study art history, obviously architecture, sculpture, paint is mentioned. Theater is also mentioned, performance. Cinema is also mentioned. And dance and music are somewhat, music, yes, dance, not so much. But makeup is nowhere, in a study form. Neither is comics, and it's hard because it's a relatively new art, as in considered art form. People didn't consider it an art form back then, I guess. But we don't have there's not much written about it as an art form, as it is opposed to cinema, where you have history of the cinema back in, I don't know what year. I forgot about it. They told me this last year, but I forgot about it. But yeah, it's quite hard to, and I think it's gonna take some time for it to be taken seriously as an art form, because it can be used as a non-art form. So you have this thing.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And I think but so why do you think that people don't take it as seriously?
Why don't people take fandoms seriously? When teenage girls love a boy band, said boy band, they're like, oh, they're not talented. Oh, they make boy band music as in a bad thing. When, and then later on, they're like, oh, the music they've made was actually good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there hypocrisy. Yeah, that's pronounced like that.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah. Of adults, and sometimes it's directed to teenagers, but other times that hypocrisy is also towards other adults. But I don't know, I have to look more into it, because I don't know, people don't see it as an art form. I don't know, I have to look into it. But I do think the fact that it has gotten bigger, that more people consider an art form now than they did before, like in the last 5 years, to say, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely, I completely agree. And do you think that actually, in a way, is probably a good thing, or can it be a good thing that it's not considered as such as an art, as like more of a,
Yeah.
is more of a higher art form, I guess?
Yeah.
But do you think that could be a good thing? Because it leads to more experimentation and more kind of, there's no rules to follow.
Yeah, I do think that. I do believe that this is not my quote. It's from Robert Welsh, I think it's pronounced. He's a YouTuber who's a makeup artist that I watch. Makeup doesn't have rules, but it does have a theory. Like any art form, if you think about it, everything has a theory, and you have to know it to be able to break set non-existent rules, per se. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think the interesting thing about makeup, for me at least, and when I look at makeup looks, and is like it's such a different world
Yeah.
to other art forms. Yeah, it has elements of other art forms. It's very closely related to painting. It's very closely related to sculpture. It's very closely related, in a way, I guess, to architecture. It kind of, it's almost like an amalgamation of all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that it's not considered as such to some people.
Well, because it's
But it's
new
quite
as
nice to
well.
see. Yeah, of course, and I think that's pretty interesting. It's kind of almost like the way I would say, in some respects, digital art isn't really as prevalent
Oh
as
yeah,
it necessarily could be or should be.
it
Like the
definitely
idea of
should
3D
be.
rendering.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 3D rendering, which is so incredible. Yeah, it's not considered true art or pure art in a way because you're not doing it.
The thing about art, they're very elitist, and I'm saying that from someone who is studying art history and is in the student council, and I've been in like meetings, and I've come across teachers in a different space other than a classroom, so you see more of their opinions, and a lot of them are very like old-fashioned opinions on art, you know and it kind of sucks.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I mean, probably they have better opinions than the teachers, the ones they had as teachers, but I don't know.
So it's really funny because you're probably the third or fourth artist in probably the last 3 or 4 interviews I've done that have said one of the problems with the art is that it's elitist. So
Yeah.
what do you think? So what do you think that would need to change for that to change, or do you think it would never change?
If it does change, it's gonna be in a very long time. Like, I might not even see it kind of long time, because you have to change your mindset, and in the mindset of a mass society of people. And this mindset has been with us ever since Greek and ancient Rome and ancient Greece, because they did not consider, artists that now we value, the ones that made the Pantheon and all of that. They weren't considered like the higher arts. In medieval times, even less. Then in the 15th and 16th century, artists wanted to reclaim, what we do is intellectual as well. So yeah, And then the whole illustration movement and all of that helped a lot. But it didn't help in the way of making non-elitist. But what's new? Rich people back then and rich people now act the same way.
That's super interesting to hear you talk about that, because I think that's so interesting, because you're learning art history in the minute as well, which is the interesting thing. So it's like, where did that decision come from? Because it's not something I spoke about. I should have spoke to you about this in the beginning, because that was part of my introduction section. I have that I completely glossed over. But so I might as well do it now, actually, and then we'll move back into social media. So where did your interest in art history come from, and how do you think it's informed your practice, if it has?
That's interesting, because for a very long time I was going the science route.
Okay.
I wanted to be, first I was a psychologist, which if I had put my mind to it, it wasn't the right mindset at the time, I would have gone through it. But with science, I have the problem that I understand the theory perfectly, but when it comes to like math problems, even if I understand the theory, I can make them. I don't know why. So until I was 17, I was going down the science route. The last year of school, because the way school is doing in Spain, the last 2 years, they're not mandatory. You can do something else, but they are if you want to go to college. You have to do 5 during the whole 2 years from the same modality. I did 4 from science in the first year, so I had to do 1 the second year, because the second year changed my mind and I wanted to do performing arts, would be the name. I wasn't as interested as much in, acting, but I was interested in the process behind the scenes. And I found this place that I thought was promising and said that, oh, we do a lot of this. Spoiler, they didn't. So that second year, the last year of school, was the first time that I did art history. I've always had loved art, I guess. I like music, I like painting, I like stuff, but I never really took it like, oh, I want to do this. So I started my first year of college as performing arts thing. My mental health at the time was at its worst. There were years of keeping everything in. And I exploded when I felt that I didn't belong in that career that I thought was for me. So I quit, I dropped out. And I spoke to some teachers from my second and third school. And the third school that I went to was the one that I did the last 2 years. And I talked to the teacher that I did like a final kind of research project we do in the last year that we did about art history, by the way. And I told her I don't know what to do. I really like mythology, so I might, she said, look into it. So yeah, I looked into it and I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And here I am.
So what I mean, it might be premature to ask this to you, because you're still quite young and you're still obviously in college.
Yeah.
But like, what do you want to do in the future?
I have no
Or
idea.
you're not sure?
I mean, part of me it's no, not sure. Then the other part has like aspirations.
Well, of course.
Obviously.
I hope so.
One that I'm considering, seems to be the more stable out of them, but is to be a teacher. I've always loved to teach. I played that a lot when I was a kid, with like plushies and stuff as students. And for me personally, good teachers have impacted my life personally on a personal level,
Absolutely, yeah.
and it's some profession that I value a lot. It's not valued in Spain. The pay is not very high, but I think it's very important, and it's something that I wouldn't mind doing. So one of my plans is to get enough of a note at the end of the note. Yeah. At the end of this degree to make a master's degree in advanced art history, just in case I want to do something with it in the future. And then a master's degree to be able to teach.
Yeah, that'd be great because I like that because I like the fact that you're not setting yourself in stone and be like, oh, I want to do this, but then you're also making sure that that you've got some plans, you've got
Yeah,
an
I
idea,
need to have a
but you're also
backup.
very aware that no, not really. I don't think so. I don't necessarily think so. I think people often think they do, but they really don't because I think where you'll fall is where you'll fall.
Yeah,
You'll land that way, and things aren't always that bad. I mean, there's nothing wrong with working just a regular day job. There's nothing wrong with that if it was came down to that.
exactly.
I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to, like, I think the problem is that nowadays is that people feel like they have to have a career, and it's like you don't have to have a career.
No, 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 no.
As long as you're financially comfortable and you're happy,
Exactly.
why should it really matter?
Mhm.
But going back to your work, would you actually like to be a makeup artist as a career?
I've thought about it recently. I don't know if I would like it to be my full-time job because I am very particular about freedom, you know? Um, and when it comes to something that involves my creativity, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I know what I do. I 100% agree with you because I feel the same way about doing this the full time.
Yeah,
It's like to do something full time or to make it your career, you give up something by
exactly.
doing that.
I don't know if I'm
And I
ready
think
for that.
it's I think if I'm very honest, I think there's a lot of joy and a lot of fun in doing something part time and doing something that's not that you don't have to make money from,
Exactly, yeah.
and something that's it's like not a burden. It doesn't become a burden to you. It's not like you don't wake up and you're like, I have to do this today.
Mm.
It's like YouTubers. It's
Yeah,
like people who are
yeah, yeah,
YouTubers.
yeah.
How many times do you hear about a YouTuber who started off as fun and then because it got serious, it's now their job and they hate it because they have to create content.
Exactly.
And I think also for me personally, I hate like the words content creator. I think that just
Yeah.
screams views and you're trying to get views just for money. And it's like, it's not about that. Like if your content's good, like everybody is a content creator.
Mhm.
Artists are content creators, news feeds are
Journalist,
content
yeah,
creators. Yeah,
exactly.
everybody's a content creator. I think if you put that label to yourself, it just, to me at least, and this is no disrespect to anybody who might do that, but to me, it kind of says you're really here for the views and you're
Hmm.
here for the follows
Yeah,
and you're not necessarily here for the quality
exactly.
and the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so talking a bit about quality and conversation. So what kind of feedback do you like as a makeup artist when you post looks?
Um, well, I'm very happy when people like what I post, obviously. And it feels good when people are surprised, but oh, I didn't expect you to do that. Like, or you can see, because this comes especially with people that comment often on your post. So you can see when a post has really impacted them, in a certain way. Um, I don't like expect or look for any specific feedback, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of course.
I think one of the best feedbacks you can get is when someone creates something inspired by a look you posted, being another makeup look, being another form of art, written or a drawing or something like that. I think that's really cool because you see the impact you have or that you can
Yeah,
have, you know
yeah, absolutely,
and you see, oh
absolutely.
wow, because most of the time, you post something out there but you don't realize how much can it reach or how much can
Yeah,
it impact someone. And it's kind of weird because I get like impacted by other people's work constantly. I'm like, oh wow, and I save it in my folder of inspiration kind of thing. So it's when it happens to you, it's when oh wow, you just keep going. You just keep going with your life. You don't stop to think about it.
No, that's true. That's so true. And that's really interesting because you're right. Like when it happens to you, you're like, oh, this is weird. But yeah, you do it
Yeah.
all the time and you're impacted by people's work all the time.
Yeah, and this
Like you
happens
see
to
stuff you
every
love.
artist. It happens to probably you. It happens to
Oh,
musicians,
absolutely.
to actors, to directors, to everyone. You don't really like expect it.
And how do you balance? Actually, wait, let me ask another question before this question. How often do you create looks?
It depends of how much free time I have or how inspired I am. For example, from mid-December to the end of January, I didn't create much because I had finals of the
Of course,
semester.
yeah.
So I personally stopped myself from creating because I know I will create to escape my responsibilities.
Oh, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
something that I do because it's something that you like doing. You don't like studying,
Oh, absolutely. That's the
you
perfect
know.
form of escapism. It
So
really is.
that kind of stuff. So I think it's important, especially if it's not your full job, um to prioritize your life in general, and not always put it at the first on the list. Makeup, no. Because you know it's gonna affect your mental health, and it's gonna end up affecting your creations. But after that, I had been like a month and a half without creating much. um I have created a lot recently. Usually it's quite steady. It's like one, maybe two looks a week. But there was a week that I created, like five. Because sometimes on the same day, because you do a look and then you do one on top of a look. Like I remember this one
Oh,
day
okay.
back in October, I did three looks. I did one, then I took, because it involved stickers. Um, I did the second one and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna mix it another time, and I did the third one. So it's not very, I'm not very consistent with that. I'm consistent with posting. And now that I've started doing, video content as well as another media form, um, I have more content as well. So I usually post it twice a week. And now because I have in my mind quite a lot of content, I don't want it to pile up in my drafts,
Yeah.
because then I feel like, if I post it 2 months from now, it's not going to reflect where my art is at.
Yes. That's a really
So
good point.
yeah, so I started, especially with videos, because I post a picture and I post a video. So I've started to like post 3 times a week. I've decided to post this until my drafts become, instead of like being like 25 to like 10, because I always
Yeah, of
have
course.
some saved for when I have exams, for example. Like when I had
Yeah.
exams, I had like 5 to 4 weeks, twice a week. That's how many? Wait, I'm not good at math. That's 10, 8 or 10 looks, you know? Um, I had to have those saved. Sometimes I do repost all looks, because since I post more than one picture on the carousel kind of Instagram post, I can pull one picture that was not the first one and post it again. Like,
Yeah.
look, looking back at this post, blah blah blah. Or maybe a look, because I did that I posted like a blurry image of it, and I post a non-blurry image, things like that.
And does the saving drafts go back to the kind of notion of having to post regularly because of the algorithm in social media?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. um I mean, if it comes to a day where I, one, don't have free time, I don't think I will have as much time 2 years or three from now, when, if I do a master's degree or when I'm working, because I depend a lot on natural lighting to take my pictures, because I like
Yeah.
better the outcome better. And during the holidays, I remember the days that I worked and thinking, some days I did looks like because I came home to have lunch. But if I work full time, I wouldn't have that time to create looks, or I will have to change, and use always the ring light or stuff like that, or create on the weekends and post more occasionally, not post as
Yeah,
often.
like you'd have to
You have to adapt.
reconsider how you fit it.
Yeah.
You'd have to adapt. That's the best way to
Yeah,
put it. You'll have to
exactly.
adapt to how you create.
And I know I'm gonna have to do that. So the thing is, don't get worried about it. Don't worry about it. If you post less and your numbers get affected, don't worry about it. I mean, unless it's your full-time job again. But if it's your full-time job, you have time for it. But if it's not, yeah.
That's exactly the thing though, is that like that's what I worry about in terms of doing anything like this full time, is because it's like you have all that time to do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean you will do it just because you have the time to do it.
Exactly. If you don't feel like doing it, don't, because you do need breaks. Everyone needs breaks, because even people who have full-time job that it's not makeup, they have vacations, they have holidays.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
A makeup artist that does this as a full-time also has holidays. They need to have holidays because you need to take your mind out of it, especially creative jobs. It's not, you're gonna end up saturating yourself with thinking, what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing.
Absolutely. I've taken you're saying a lot as well.
Yeah.
Which leads me on to the next question quite nicely. It's like, so how do you balance kind of creating work and also engaging with the community that you're in, and also kind of commenting on other people's posts?
Oh, I try to very hard to also that's not the word I want to say. Always, that's it. Got confused there. To at least give a like. Sometimes mentally I'm not well, or I'm tired, or having a rough day or whatever, and I'm not as communicative. That's it. In terms of engaging with people, both in real life and both in online. Yeah, because I'm an introvert, and social gatherings, they drain me physically and emotionally.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah. So and online it doesn't happen as much, but it depends on what. Like Instagram, I feel like sometimes drains me more than Twitter, because I feel like on Twitter I don't have as many expectations. I'm not worried about numbers, or how well my post is doing, or how much am I giving to others and how little I am receiving back. Because that's something I show support because I want to. I just want to point that out. I do want to show support. But when you see that support is not coming back as much as you give it, it's a bittersweet taste,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it's very like the whole social media kind of game, I guess is a good way to put it. Like it fascinates me endlessly, because it's like you can put all your time and effort into following people, supporting people, but that there's no guarantee of reciprocation.
Exactly.
Like we all put our own kind of expectations, and kind of like we think, oh, the more people we follow, or like the more support we show people, the more we'll get that back, or just
that's not true.
Give and you shall receive, that whole kind of thing.
That's why, yeah.
It's like the adage, of working hard and you'll receive good rewards and stuff like that. It's like that's not necessarily the case. You can work hard for your whole entire life and not get a fraction of the recognition you deserve. Look at like Van Gogh, for instance, or any kind of artist who's done great work in their time and wasn't recognized. So maybe people should be a little bit more chilled out and realizing that recognition and kind of numbers, especially, they're not really, unless it is your full-time job, and unless you're making a career of it, and unless it's actually affecting your finances directly, it's really not that big of a deal. And it's, it's easy for me to say,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
make I make no money off doing this. I just do it because I love it, and I get to meet cool people like you. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, I just think that people are so caught up, particularly younger people, or particularly people who start, and I say this, I'm pretty sure I say this on every single interview. People are probably gonna be sick of hearing me say this, but it's like people just think, oh, I want to be an artist, so I'll just create something and I'll post it online and I'll get followers and I'll get likes and I'll get money. And it's like, it doesn't work like that.
No.
I think
And it happens with regular jobs too.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but because
Absolutely.
creative jobs, you put part of yourself in it. It feels more personal when you don't get back. So it's something that I sometimes force myself to be mindful of. I remind myself that um because I don't want it to affect me. I don't like it because it makes me bitter. Sometimes it makes me even jealous. I don't like feeling jealousy when it comes to these things, you know, or it makes you think bad things about people, and that takes a toll on you. It's
Yeah.
you have to be very mindful of it. Um, and you have to also be mindful that there are going to be times that you're going to have those thoughts and feelings, and that's fine. You're going to get over it and you're going to get back at your normal game, I guess.
Yeah, but I say like actually that's a good question to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Is like about self-doubt and about kind of comparing yourself to other people. So
Yeah.
how do you kind of stop yourself when you are in that mode of doubting, your abilities, and also you're comparing yourself to like these other amazing makeup artists you've seen?
For me, like I say, since it's something so personal, it's different for everyone. We don't deal with emotions the same way. We all deal with it differently. So for me, I've never really compared my work as per se, but I do more often than I should compare or think, why isn't my work getting recognized? No, what is it missing? Those kind of things.
And how do you get yourself out of that mindset in terms of like not caring about it anymore? Or like obviously it's always in the back of your mind, it's in the back of every artist's mind, but like how do you kind of recalibrate yourself? I guess is probably the best way to put it.
Sometimes I, don't go on Instagram. I sleep it off. I do that way too much with way too many things. Sleeping it off.
That's a great way. I need to learn how to do that better. I really do.
Yeah. Or distracting myself with other things.
A good film.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the best coping mechanisms. Okay, I'll just say that because I do that. It's not that you only do this with Instagram. No, I do that with every single aspect of my life.
But then everybody does. That's why. That's why we have escapism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's why we have escapism, and that's why we have art, and we have films, and we have books, and we have all these things, because realistically real life kind of sucks a bit.
Yeah.
And we all kind of want to just like not be in our own little world, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I think it just becomes a danger when you start preferring the online world to the real world. Then it becomes a danger.
Yeah.
But actually, so talking about the online world, do you think that because makeup is a transient medium, you apply it, but at some point it'll be removed.
Yeah.
Do you think that posting it online lessens the impact of the process?
No, because sometimes the picture is more impactful than the process,
Yeah, that's actually a very good answer.
Yeah. No, there are some think about it. Okay, so let's go for reference. Because I have looks that I feel the picture was more impactful than the process. I mean, I do find the process interesting, and I do wish some process I had recorded.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have you don't think about it. I didn't think about it,
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, this whole 3 looks that I did, you could have seen, the creative process of it. Or I did a couple looks that were like serious. Though I had the whole eye black, and then I put like this balm to remove makeup and then took a picture of that, but it's not always necessary. It kind of adds to the mystery of, oh, how did they do that? Or,
Absolutely.
yeah, I guess it depends on the person. Also, I don't want to record, everything.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to, this links to the question we just answered. I did talk about it with my dad and family as a general. To practice to be more present in the present and to enjoy, the little things in life, the day-to-day things, and to be more grateful about them in general. So yeah, that's it.
No, absolutely, that's perfect. That's a really good point, and I think you're right in terms of you're right. Maybe the final photo is actually more impactful. I think the one thing for me though that I'm curious about talking to someone who does do makeup is because we're not educated as much about makeup in terms of the mainstream media. That's how can people kind of judge what is good and what's bad?
Oh God, that's a very good question that I don't know if I can make it justice with my answer. But
That's fair.
oh wow, I never thought about it. No, but there are certain. At least socially, good makeup is the one that enhances. Yeah,
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 sorry.
that's a word. Someone's features. Obviously there have been trends. Some decades. The more natural no makeup look is on trend. Some decades the whole put on a freaking mask is on, but
Yeah.
see, that's why I don't think there's a consistency in good makeup or bad makeup. Whatever's on trend, it's good. Whatever's not on trend is bad.
Obviously, I just want to quickly say that obviously the terms good and bad of anything in terms of art or just anything is very subjective.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it reminds me of fashion in a way.
Yeah.
You don't get taught about fashion. You look up online which jeans flatter more each body shape. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With makeup, it's the same. If you're interested in it, like which eyeliner shape is better for almond eyes, hooded eyes, monolid. I think it's more of a if you're interested in, certain X, Y, and Z thing, um, you look into it. And people who don't know, most of the time, it will depend on their taste or the social concept of beauty. They'll be like, oh,
Yes.
I don't like what this person is wearing, because since they're fat, I don't think that is flattering on them because we have this construct about, fat people should be wearing this, and this, and they cannot wear that, and that, kind of this thing. With makeup, I think it's quite similar.
Yeah, but then how that's I was just about gonna say. And actually, where do you think makeup falls onto the spectrum of the kind of the beauty standards and beauty industry? Because obviously, definitely in the last few years, obviously with the makeup as well, there's been a huge influx of kind of mental health and looking after yourself and kind of the idea of beauty and change, like it's kind of ever changing. Where do you think makeup falls on the spectrum?
I think it's gotten better over the last few years. There's more, at least how I see it, there's more accounts, um, you know, um, giving light to unconventional makeup aspects, being in what they used to do makeup, in how the person looks, and, so I think, editorial makeup, it's becoming more accessible and more trendy in a way. It's more accepted for people to wear a graphic eyeliner look to go grocery shopping, say. People didn't do that
Absolutely.
before, and that's because makeup it's more accessible to people. We have fashion shows we have magazines, and I don't know, I don't know how to explain it really, but it feels like it's more, there's more sides of making, and you
Yeah.
can choose which one you want to do.
Yeah, it's become more accessible as a
Yeah.
yeah, as you said earlier, it
Mhm.
becomes more accessible as like a whole. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it actually, to be honest. So why do you think that the arts have a reputation for being kind of undervalued?
I think it reflects on our society's priorities. And I think it not only reflects in the arts, as I said, teachers here at least, or and in most countries, they don't get paid well, and they're teaching literally society, you know, because a lot of the time they have raised you, obviously most people have parents or people who raise them, but they spend most of the time in school. So it's really important to have a good teacher. Um, I think it shows today's society more what they're focusing on, which in my opinion, it's not where it should be.
Going back to your work, so have you ever considered taking your work offline? So maybe having like an exhibition somewhere, or maybe creating, I don't know, say clothing or something like that. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
I've always been interested in painting. I did a few painting courses during the summer when I was a kid, a few years ago, many years ago. I did a few years. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. Um, and for the past, it coincidentally for the past 2 years when I started the makeup account, but it's something that I've always wanted to really like learn how to draw, and learn about color theory and learn how to paint, watercolor, acrylic, oil, whatever. So that's something I would be interested in. I don't think I would like make it like a job. If I do make something creative, a job would be makeup. I'm interested in film as well and photography. So joining those two together would be fun. Maybe learning how to do makeup on a set for a movie set or TV or
Yeah.
whatever, that would be fun. Or maybe learn more about photography and get a decent camera or make expositions and stuff, but I don't know.
Where do you think the makeup industry will go from here?
It's so hard for me at least to predict where something is going to go as it's happening.
Let me rephrase the question then. What is the most exciting thing you've seen coming out of the makeup industry at this moment in time?
um I do like that makeup seems to be, at least to me, more exciting when it comes to recent product launches. It's been, I think I said it before, it feels like it's changing a bit. Recent products that surprised me. Halsey launched a brand called About Face Beauty, and she has this product that they're called face paints. The name itself, it's quite artistic, and I've seen people using them, and they are quite like face paints. They're matte, liquidy eyeshadows that you can do things with. So that's really cool that mainstream brands are making makeup a more artistic driven for kind of way. And then another product that surprised me recently, Glow by Audic. They did cream eyeshadows, and they did this one product that it's like a glowy tint that I think is very useful for like professional makeup artists. It has a little tint, but it's glowy, but it's not a foundation. It goes through the whole natural looking makeup kind of thing and glowy that we've ever seen recently. But yeah, I think it's quite nice to see more. It feels like it's beginning to be a little more inclusive in a way, but it needs work. It's a lot of work.
So, what is also your opinion on kind of the judging aspect of the makeup industry in terms of like you have obviously a lot of people doing reviews on different makeup lines
Mhm.
and a lot of kind of critique and criticism as opposed to necessarily positivity. Do you think that really kind of impacts the way people think about makeup?
Definitely, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, the whole beauty drama on YouTube going viral on the news with like the James Charles thing and Tati Westbrook and Jeffree Star. There's definitely big personalities that have impacted the community negatively. But I remember very well when Shane Dawson came with the beauty community is like a circus statement. The community is not like that. And if big people with influence keep saying that, how negative it is and how toxic it is, you're not going to change people's opinion. The normal people who watch news,
Yeah.
So it's hurtful in that way, because I've never had a negative experience with anyone here. It's all been good. I feel like I fit in, which is a hard feeling for me to get.
That's good though, you feel that way.
Yeah. So
That's a
it
very good
hurts
thing.
me when people say, oh, the beauty community is super bad, it's toxic, it's whatever. And I'm like, depends where you're standing, I guess.
So how do you think, as somebody who obviously creates makeup and is online, how do you try and make sure that you are authentic online?
I don't know if I come across as authentic or not. But I don't fake it. I don't fake for other people. I don't be someone else. I've never really done that. And if I have done that in the past in my own life, it's gone the wrong way. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. I use the fake it till you make it mentality for other stuff. More like, you're going through a bad mental health moment. Well, let's fake it till we make it,
Yeah,
Not when it
absolutely.
comes to this internet stuff, because it's gonna end up bad.
So I have one more question to ask, which is kind of two questions really.
Okay, let's
The
go.
last question I ask everybody. So it's, what are you currently working on, and where can people find more about you and your work?
I'm currently organizing my drafts and what I'm gonna post, when I'm gonna post it. Because like I said earlier, it's been all over the place lately. I created way too much. So I have to decide, what do I post, what do I keep, and all that. I have a couple of ideas, the sticker ones, for example, that I'm eager to do. Um, I have a kind of like a project kind of thing coming up with a friend from my brother's who is training to be a hairstylist. Do a little collab kind of moment. That should be fun. It's tomorrow, the first time. We're gonna do a couple of days, yeah. And people can find me on Instagram and on Twitter with my username, berry_please, 2 underscores. And yeah, I'll be there, sharing memes and stuff.
That's absolutely awesome. That's super awesome. Wow. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
I really do. I really do. That concludes my interview with Cristina. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions or comments about it, please send me an email at theflyingfruitbowl@gmail.com or send me a message on social media. The Flying Fruit Bowl audio interviews can be found on sites such as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, please don't forget to check out www.theflyingfruitbowl.co.uk for daily art inspiration. And if you're creative, please get in touch for a chance to be featured or interviewed. Once again, thank you very much for listening to this interview. And until next time, folks, please stay safe.